Hey everybody, welcome to another comic book review. In this video, I'll be talking about book 3 of Alan Moore's run on Saga of the Swamp Thing. So, this volume starts off what is commonly known as the American Gothic Saga. So, it's basically a series of stories revolving around Swamp Thing being led across America and having to deal with different supernatural issues and that is all kind of um, in the name of finding out what his powers are and how to use them and how to control them. Because Swamp Thing is still only just kind of coming to terms with the fact that he was never human and he's never going to be human again. So instead of obsessing over how to become human again, he decides to accept his fate and try and learn how to control his powers. And he kind of does this by going to all these places in America dealing with supernatural events and occurrences. And he's led across America by John Constantine. Now, this is the first appearance of John Constantine. Alan Moore created the character for Swamp Thing, pretty much, and then Constantine later on evolved to become a much larger character in the DC universe, and he went on to have his own series of comics called Hellblazer. But before Hellblazer, before his appearances in all the other DC comics, this was Constantine's introduction. And he kind of leads Swamp Thing around, and he has this society of people that specialize in supernatural events. And he promises Swamp Thing knowledge of who he is and knowledge of how to control his powers in exchange for Swamp Thing helping him out with these events that are going on across America. Now, this volume is kind of more episodic, as is the entire American Gothic saga. And it starts off with 2 issues called the Nuke Face Papers, parts 1 and 2. And they revolve around this really creepy dude known as Nuke Face, who drinks toxic waste. He was like the result of toxic waste being dumped. And he kind of relies on toxic waste now, and he's like addicted to it, and it's kind of poisoning the swamps, and so Swamp Thing is kind of drawn into that whole situation because he lives in the swamps. So there's that, and then after he deals with that, then he is sent to deal with these vampires that live underwater, and he basically has to figure out how to stop these vampires from eating people and dragging them down to their town underwater. It's like a fully submerged underwater town that's infested with vampires, and it's the coolest thing, and Swamp Thing has to deal with that. There's an issue in here about a woman who is a werewolf who is dealing with an abusive husband, and he's just really nasty to her and very rude. And she becomes a werewolf, and she's kind of having to grapple with the fact, do I get revenge on my husband for treating me so poorly? And now that I'm a werewolf, what am I going to do? And Swamp Thing kind of comes in, and he doesn't really guide anybody to do anything. It's just he's kind of serving as a witness to this whole situation. And then the last 2 issues are revolving around a film set, and it's basically they're filming a TV series revolving around slavery. And it starts off, the actors are just very there's one who is incredibly like he's doing his best to appear as like progressive as possible, but there's another actress who is kind of the total opposite, and then you get the black actors who are kind of at the center of it and trying to figure out how to deal with the mistreatment and misunderstanding by their co-stars. And the funny thing about this is where they're filming was actually an old slave plantation, and it has a very dark past. And that dark past is bringing out things in these actors and kind of forcing them to relive one horrible night in the history of this plantation. And you get some really cool things where a lot of former slaves who died on that property rise up from the grave, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They don't know if they want revenge. They don't know. Some do, but some don't. Some just want regular lives again. And so it's really cool to kind of see how that all works out. And it's a very interesting social commentary, as well as having some really good, creepy stuff in it as well. The other cool thing that I really love about this volume is this is the start of Swamp Thing learning about how to regrow his body, how to distance him, how to like detach himself from his body and reattach himself to other living plant organisms anywhere in the world. He taps into the green, which is basically like the life force of nature. And he taps into that, and it's basically like instant teleportation. It isn't instant at first because he's having to learn how to break down his body and transfer his consciousness into other organisms in the green. And this volume explores that, and you kind of get to see him go through like a growth period of like increasing the strength and power of his abilities, and through Constantine leading him around to different various situations, he's starting to get more of a grasp of his powers. He doesn't have any clear answers yet, but he's starting to get there. So that's basically what this volume is about. The art, as always, is brilliant by Stephen Bissett and John Totalbin. They handle the art here, and it's great. The coloring also is wonderful. I don't know if I've mentioned that in my past reviews or not, but all of the colors in this series are incredible. And it gives it like this old school kind of look that I really, really dig. Another thing that I love is the panel layout. Swamp Thing, specifically Alan Moore's run, does some insane stuff with panel layout. A lot of like jagged angles and unorthodox like structure, and just some really cool stuff is accomplished here. And it's really, really cool. I really like it a lot. So those are my thoughts on Book 3 of Saga of the Swamp Thing. Thank you as always for watching. Look forward to more videos in the future, and have a great day.